here we go. So, I got some stuff to say. I I think it's time for people to begin speaking, and the reason that free speech is first in the Bill of Rights, that they recognize the right to speak first before anything else, is because it's the most important. I've had a lot of experiences over the last months and weeks and years that give me a different perspective. Okay, that doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but I do have different perspectives that I want to share. Um, for example, I don't watch television. I don't watch corporate news, any of them. I know people, well, but my news, where I get my news, they're okay. No, they're not. So I don't watch entertainment television. I hardly watch movies anymore. I sometimes with the kids, but I don't watch television entertainment. I'm tired of how it makes me feel. I don't consume corporate news. So let's start with the elephant in the room and the title. Um, I'm tired of watching my friends be distracted. And that's why I came up with a stupid title like trans abortion, gay face masks, and Antifa bathrooms, because it seems like you can always tell the people that consume the corporate news because they all have the same trigger points. They all eventually bring up the same thing. Oh, but what about? And I'm sitting here going, no, I don't care about that stuff. So yesterday, let me give you an example. So yesterday we went to a cookout, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. But we went to this cookout, and I got to bring my notes here. And I'm just talking to people. Now, this group of people are very concerned about liberty and freedom and natural rights, and that was a lot of the conversation. And I noticed that a few times someone would pop up, and it was like this trigger to go, oh, yeah, but, well, those people. And I would say, well, but here's the problem. See, those people, whoever they are, in whatever little group, see, they have these same natural, God-given, inalienable rights that everybody else does. And in every single case, they would go, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about that. Of course you didn't, because you have been given an enemy, which is now your neighbor, over the course of history of the last few decades. There's always been some foreign enemy. We needed to be scared of the Vietnamese, and then we needed to be scared of the Koreans, and we needed to be scared of the North Koreans, and we needed to be scared of the Russians, and then we needed to be scared of the Chinese or the Middle East, and now it's the Chinese, and now it's your neighbor. And that one works like a charm. See, now they've gotten you to be afraid of your neighbor. It's brilliant. I mean, it really is. It's kind of genius. I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due, but they have gotten you to fear your neighbor. Uh, it's just fascinating. So, you can't trigger me with bringing up trans person, a gay person, a black person, a foreigner. You can't. I'm untriggerable. So when you hear these terms come up, I need you to understand that the person that is trying to get you to be afraid of some person or group, it's not to protect you from that person or group. It's to get you to turn off your brain, turn off your critical thinking, turn off your logic, and think, well, how does the existence of that person or group hurt me? It doesn't. But see, when they've showered you with all of this nonsense, about how just the mere existence of a person or group of people is somehow going to harm you, you know, and then of course if you believe that they're going to harm you, then you are more likely to allow the state to attack those people because you're legitimately scared of them. So, you know, guys, this isn't new. This has been going on for a very long time. Lots and lots of decades. This has been going on, and just it's only now that it's why is my microphone making that weird noise? Okay, now it's only now that it's started to really affect us. So, so let's talk about how we got here. So today's November 15th. So what was it yesterday? No, on the 13th. On Friday, Governor the Hutt came out with a new mandate. And, of course, many people were instantly just triggered and upset about what he said. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of what he said here just so we're clear on what happened. So let's go with that, and we'll see how this works. He's going to do stuff. I mean, whew, he's going to do stuff. Listen, here's the issue. I'm going to stop that right there. You know, all right, we got to do stuff. I have been alive now for 44 years, and I've traveled all over the entire United States, Canada, Mexico. How we got to the place where we have this guy. I mean, he's not. There's nothing special about him. He doesn't have any magical powers. He's not divinely laid before us. He's just a guy that says stuff and does stuff. Has decided that he owns everybody and everything. You listen. We're going to hear him use personal possessive pronouns in this, and he's going to talk about himself and what he owns. Okay, couple points there. How many of you have actually even done the most rudimentary Google search of a polymerase chain reaction test, a PCR test, and looked at how it works? Just not as big research. Just how many of you have actually Googled a PCR test and how it works? Because if you did that, you don't go very far before you begin to understand that PCR testing, as described by the guy that invented it, is not reliable for diagnostic purposes. The guy that invented it said that, because it uses an amplification process. Well, the more you amplify it through cycles, the more material you get. So if they go to 35 or 40 cycles, they're amplifying something that barely exists, and they're using that to come up with this case number. And of course, Governor the Hutt, you know, he's just doing what his masters have told him. because shut up, slave. You're going to do what you're told because I'm doing what I'm told. The experts have given me the information, and I'm going to hand it down to you, and you're going to do what you want. What I tell you to. Okay. From the Secretary of State's website, the West Virginia Constitution gives the governor executive power, which is implemented in certain situations through executive orders. These orders have the force of law. However, the governor may not use this authority to overturn or substitute for the legislative process. Also, the courts may review executive orders to determine whether they are constitutional. This is the provision of the West Virginia Constitution which create this authority. Article 7, Section 5. The chief executive power shall be vested in the governor, who shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Laws. Laws are created by the legislature. They are not created by the executive branch. This is level 101 civics. This is 8th grade civics. Okay? This is not about masks. Okay? This is about abuse of authority. I don't care what you think about masks in the negative or the affirmative. It doesn't matter. What matters is the executive officer, the chief executive of a state or federal government, does not have the power to create law. Period. Therefore, the executive cannot issue fines and penalties for violating laws that do not exist. So, you're going to see me refuse to comply with the governor's mandate. And it doesn't have anything to do with what I think about masks. I do have an opinion about masks and viruses and PCR tests and other things, because now for the last 9 months I started to get real curious, and I'm going, well, let me just look into this for myself, because it's obvious that the news media is not going to look into this stuff. They're not going to. They're going to repeat what the state tells them to repeat, because they don't want to create controversy, and they don't want to lose their advertising dollars. But of course, that's the point, because the more they scare the hell out of you and trigger you with all this nonsense that they programmed you to be triggered with, the more you'll come and tune back in tomorrow for another dose of fear. Jim Justice does not have the authority to fine, imprison, shut down businesses. It doesn't exist. Doesn't matter what it's for. I mean, he could say, if you drive a Chevrolet pickup truck, you can't go through the drive-thru at McDonald's. And if you do, I'm going to have you arrested for obstruction of justice. That's how stupid this is. I mean, he could say, I demand you wear a clown wig before you walk into the bank to cash your paycheck. He doesn't have that authority. The legislature does. The legislature literally could meet, if they weren't all gutless cowards that have been hiding for 10 months. If they weren't such gutless, worthless, useless cowards, they could go they can call themselves into session by law in West Virginia without the governor's blessing. They could call themselves in, walk in there, and vote. All right, everybody's got to wear a mask. We voted. The House and the Senate passed it, sent it to the governor to sign it, and now a police officer can come and arrest you and put you in jail for not wearing a mask. It's still unconstitutional, but they could do it. But see, they're not going to because they're cowards. Joshua Hickenbotham in my district, you're a coward. Glenn Jeffries in my district, you're a coward. You cowards have sat and allowed this moron, this incompetent boob, Jim Justice, to run roughshod over us. For 10 months, you've sat around with your thumbs up your asses and done nothing. Nothing. And if the king allows you to go back into session, I'm sure you're going to just run right in there and adjust everything and make it okay, aren't you? He's already said he's not going to allow you to come into session. So, the issue is not masks. The issue is the state, the government. What it does, it loves the word precedent. Well, I mean, the governor issued orders to wear a mask, and everybody did it. So now when we issue the order to get a vaccine, they're going to do that. And you see where this is going? The governor of any state does not, in a constitutional republic. Now, if we want to let's just turn off the Constitution. That's, let's just rip up the West Virginia Constitution. Let's rip up the U.S. Constitution, and we'll just set up little kingdoms, and Justice will be the king now forevermore until he dies of West Virginia, and Andrew Cuomo can be king of New York, and Andy Beshear can be king of Kentucky, and Mike DeWine can be king of Ohio. And I mean, if we're going to make them kings, then let's make them kings, and then you can bow and kiss their ring. But he says, well, I mean, our businesses in West Virginia, listen to him. Ultra mandatory. He's making it ultra mandatory. I mean, because when the founders were writing the Constitution, they were like, oh, well, all the executive has to do is say ultra mandatory, and all this other stuff goes out the window. Our. He's using the personal possessive pronoun our as if you own someone's business. Jim Justice does not own your business. Jim Justice does not own my business. Jim Justice does not own my body. Jim Justice does not own my house. Jim Justice does not have the right. There's no principle in the history of the world in a constitutional republic that allows for this jackass to claim that he can come and order your business, that he can send an armed gang into your establishment and threaten you with violence. What do you think would happen if you walked into the Speedway or the Sheetz or the McDonald's or the bank with guns and said, all right, y'all are going to shut this thing down? Why? Because I said so. You would be hauled off to jail because you violated their natural human right to private property. Now, let's don't miss the fact that Governor of the Hut was at a football game yesterday without a mask. And do you think that his businesses, like the Greenbrier, are going to do any of this stuff? No, because the laws are for thee, not for me, citizen. Okay, so I mean, he has made it clear he is going to shut down your business if you do not comply. That is that is the behavior of a dictator. No different from Mussolini or Hitler or Stalin or Mao. This guy who has 4 years been in office and clearly demonstrated that he doesn't give a damn about the rule of law, the Constitution. He hasn't cared about that from day one. You know, when he was elected as a Democrat and then switched to Republican because the legislature wouldn't pass his budget because he's a snake. He's never cared about this stuff. You know, and I didn't pay any attention to him. I didn't vote for him or Cole. I didn't vote at all in 2016 because I didn't care. It's never mattered until now because the governors of the states have just been mascots. And they never really exercised any real power until now, until they've decided that they are the king and we are their subjects. So, so what I'm going to do, because I have the ability, I'm just not going to shut up. You know, I can do this. This is the last frontier of free speech. You don't have to listen to it. But I can tell you that I'm not alone. As a matter of fact, there is a lawsuit about to be filed by the civil rights attorney, John Bryan, who is just a wonderful hero, who is going to, let me bring that up here. Let's bring that up here so we can see it. It's GoFundMe. Bring that up, put this here. We the people do not consent. So we're up to $5,300 of a $100,000 goal. So John Bryan is an attorney in West Virginia. He has already sued the governor once. A couple of times. He has sued the governor in, let's see. Let's go to this site here. My computer is very slow, so bear with me. So this is help us sue the West Virginia governor over his new COVID tyranny. Today, the West Virginia governor issued yet another executive order, which has amended the existing mask mandate issued by him in July. He's now issued hundreds of pages of executive orders since first declaring a state of emergency back in March. He now mandates that everyone wear a mask in, quote, all public indoor places, end quote, presumably referring to any structure inhabited by, quote, the public, end quote, as it now seeks to force property owners and small businesses to enforce his unconstitutional edicts and will punish them for not doing so. So John says, by the way, there is no such thing as obstruction of justice in West Virginia. I'm not convinced he wasn't referring to himself in the third person when he said that, but in any event, quote, obstruction of an officer is the crime on the books in West Virginia, and it's a misdemeanor which carries a maximum sentence of 1 year in jail. Fortunately, It's not as vague as the federal crime of obstruction of justice and actually requires a court to look at what the officer who was allegedly obstructed was investigating. So you can go to this. I'll put this. Let me put this in the comments. Okay. I'll put that in the comments. There is a link to John's website. Oh, no. You can't hear the video. Was that seriously not working? Well, that sucks. I got a comment from YouTube that says you can't hear the video. Well, that's supposed to be working. I apologize if it's not. Anyway, well, I'll have to work on this. So yesterday I went to a get together, a barbecue for volunteers that helped Marshall Wilson. Marshall Wilson is someone I consider a friend, someone I have a great deal of respect for. He ran on a write-in candidacy for governor of West Virginia. The voter suppression was actually comical. We'll have lots to talk about on that. But we covered about 800 miles yesterday with my wife and my mother-in-law and my kids, and we made some new friends. And, you know, we are not participating. You know, I did not, I'm not doing it. You know, the chances of a police officer actually taking precious time out of their day to try to put me in jail for not wearing a mask. Now, caveat, if I go into a business and they say you have to leave, I will respect their private property rights, okay? But if I walk in and the owner doesn't say anything to me, they're the only person that has any authority over that building is the person that owns that building. So if I go in and they don't say anything, I'm fine. Now, if you have a problem with that, probably you're the one that's going to have to leave. I'm going to help Marshall. I'm going to help with everything that I can. And look, here's the fundamental problem. I, as an individual, have zero fear of COVID-19. I have zero fear of Joe Biden. And I have zero fear of Donald Trump. So you have to understand that puts me in a very unique position because I'm waking up every day. I've been in 21 states since this began. And I'm going, okay, well, you know, let me check off a list of things that I need to be worried about today. COVID-19, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden aren't anywhere on the list of things that I have to worry about on a daily basis. Now, I fully accept that there are a lot of people that are terrified of COVID-19, Joe Biden, and or Donald Trump. I get that. I acknowledge that you are scared, okay? But I'm not. Let's look at why I'm not. I do not consume the same information that you do, okay? So how are two people going to get along if one person takes in certain sets of information and another person takes in certain sets of information and they come to two different opposing viewpoints? It's called respect and liberty. I have the liberty to go out into the marketplace of ideas. We have unfettered access to information on planet Earth right now. And I can go out and I can read what the World Health Organization says. I can read what the CDC says. I can read what the state says. I don't have to have Fox News or CNN tell me what they said. I can go directly to the source. Okay? Then they can say, well, a new study shows. Well, I can go read the study. Okay. I can also go look and see who actually published the original data set. It's called the internet. You just start clicking back through till you find the original. And what I've found, this is just my experience, what I have found is when you actually get back to the original information, it's nothing like what it was when it comes out of Fox News or CNN. It's like that little game you played in like Sunday school or youth group in church where they would put a bunch of kids in a circle around the room and they'd whisper into one's ear, and by the time it got around to the other side, it was completely different. That's what, it's basically just accepting that you can't trust the information. You have to verify it on your own. Well, if you go verify it on your own, you find out that they're full of shit. But when you wrap yourself up in that identity of, well, I'm a Fox News guy. Well, I'm a CNN girl. I only get information from MoveOn.org, or I only get information from this right-wing source. So I don't do that. Okay? So, when I encounter dangerous situations, like, for example, bad weather, right? When I'm driving my truck in bad weather, I change my behavior. I slow down, I do different things, and I make choices based on the danger level. Well, I have decided that there is no danger to me, that I don't need to wear a mask and I don't need a vaccine. Do I know some people that have had COVID-19? Yes, I have met a couple of people that have had COVID-19. But even still, I personally have no fear whatsoever of COVID-19. Let's talk about Joe Biden and Trump real quick. I'm really torn here because there's an entertainment factor that we're dealing with. Either way, like Biden or Trump, it's going to be very entertaining, If I were being totally selfish, I would probably want these lawsuits with Trump to work out and him get another 4 years, just because it's kind of going to enable the status quo for at least another 4 years. And I'm kind of at a point in my life where I just need another like 18 months, and I'm really shored up in what I'm doing. But on the other hand, a Biden win has a lot of benefits, a lot more benefits, right? They take a little longer to get there. Number one benefit is if you have people whose fundamental belief system is that there needs to be, freedom and liberty. That's a big chunk, even though they don't behave that way, and they're so manipulated and triggered that they don't really get that. But they're open to the ideas of liberty. Well, if those people begin to believe that the election was stolen from them, that helps me a lot. It also shatters their faith in the state. It shatters their faith in the election process. We're already seeing people finally going, wait, you mean Fox News lies to me? Yeah, they do. They really do. They lied to you for a long time. So that's good. That helps. So if Joe Biden destroys their faith in the state, destroys their faith in right-wing media, destroys their faith in the election process, I can work with that. See, because we don't need to develop a new monetary system. We already have one. It's called blockchain. We don't need to move from the echo chamber of Facebook to the echo chamber of Parler. We don't have to do that. And we also don't have to create a decentralized autonomous communication network. It already exists. It's called blockchain. But people, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're not going to move to other things unless they have a really good reason. They're just going to sit in Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Google and YouTube. They're just going to sit there until something pushes them away. Well, I bet an election stolen by the Democrats would do that. So, see how, like, I could be like, yeah, it would be kind of cool if Trump, stuck it to him. But on the other hand, Biden's going to burn this thing down a whole lot faster. And that's what I'm interested in, because I have no faith in the state. I don't care anything about it. I don't care if the election's fair. I don't care, because none of that matters to me. None whatsoever. So, I'm okay with it either way. I can't get dragged. Number one, I can't get dragged into the streets to, go to a Trump rally and get my ass kicked by a bunch of Antifa goons. And I also can't get pulled into a bunch of Antifa goons and get shot by the cops, because I'm not going to be in either place. Now, is there a possibility you'll see me protesting the governor of West Virginia? That's a pretty good possibility. But I will not take away from my livelihood. I will not stop serving my customers and working to go, to go do that. I'll do that on the side, or I'll do that here. I'll do that by emboldening other people to speak out and talk about what they believe. That's what I want you to do. I want you to stop listening to these people, and I want you to go talk to your neighbor. If you really have to have somebody to be terrified, how about Joe Biden and Donald Trump? You don't have to be terrified of them, like be debilitated, but you could question their motives. I've watched. It's so fascinating. I've watched this. I have friends all over every spectrum. I've got gay friends, and I've got progressive friends, and I've got conservative friends, and anarchist friends, and libertarians, and I got all these different people. And it's funny for the one sect, which is like the left-right people, how they switch places. That both of them, their eyes will glaze over. If you mention, say, the 30 to 50 million people that the American government has killed in the last 75 years. Like, they just look at you. Like somebody on the left will be like, they've killed 230,000 people. And I'm going, yeah, but they've killed 30 to 50 million people in the last 75 years. And none of them are in America. And they're like, what? And I'm like, well, yeah. It's documented. Madeleine Albright in 1996 said 500,000 dead Iraqi children was worth it. She said it was worth it. 500,000 children, worth it. 500,000 children dead at the hands of our government. I would be cool with us being as upset about the 500,000 dead children in Iraq as we are about the 230+ thousand coronavirus deaths. But y'all don't give a shit. It doesn't matter how many people they kill on the other side of the planet. You don't care. You couldn't care less. Because it's those people. They're not part of your, they're not part of your clique or your group or your religious affiliation or your sexual orientation, one way or the other. So you don't care. They can kill as many people as they want, and you don't care. You know, now you're going to virtue signal until you pass out about this, that, or the other. You know, and you think virtue signaling is only something that progressives do. Come on now. Look at yourself in the mirror. So, it's the most exciting time in human history to be alive, man. We're going to be talking about this for centuries, this time right now that we live in, 2020 and 2021, and probably up through about 2025. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to talk. I'm not going to be silent. I'm going to call it out where I can see it. And I will no longer tolerate the literal or figurative slaughter of people, whether it be, you know, a barber that's being persecuted by the state, or if it's some poor farmer in the Middle East that's, you know, getting a drone bomb dropped on his family. I'm not going to do it. I will not sanction that behavior, and I'm not going to make excuses for it anymore, you know? And, you know, that's going to upset some people. It's probably going to upset, you know, because I'm going to offend somebody, you know? People on the left are going to be offended about one thing, and people on the right are going to be offended about something else. And, you know, and the people that sit and watch the news and believe all of this nonsense that they keep, it's terrorism. Jim Justice is a terrorist. If ISIS or Al-Qaeda behaved the way he did, we'd send F-16s after him. Oh, but he's the governor. He won a contest, you know. Well, 492,000 of the 1.7 million people voted for him, so now he can do whatever he damn well pleases. And it doesn't matter. He doesn't have to follow the law. And we're certainly not going to hold our representatives accountable. We're not going to get involved in them. We're not going to go to see them and talk to them and say, why the hell won't you get off of your dead ass and do something about him? So there's more to come in the next few days. I got some stuff I can't talk about yet because it's not. We're dotting all the T's and crossing all the I's. But we're getting there. So enjoy the ride.